If you're buying or selling in Portland, you have one question to answer before anything else. Which side of the market are you on? Because this isn't one single market, it's three different ones happening at the same time. So I'll break down the three Portland markets nobody else is separating, and which one you're standing in changes your entire move. Let's dive in. Before we get into Portland, you need to know how the real estate market is around the country. That's the way our local market will make any sense. The headlines are calling it a buyer's market crash, but the real thing looks nothing like that. So let's understand the big picture first. Redfin's February 2026 report counted around 630,000 more sellers than buyers nationally, a gap of about 46%, up roughly 30% from a year earlier. That's the widest spread that we've tracked in more than a decade. The US has been sitting in a buyer's market territory since May of 2024. Buyers are backing off because prices are still high, rates are hanging in the mid-sixes, and people are nervous about the economy. Markets like Miami and Austin now have seller to buyer gaps above 100%, and those markets got hit hard. And later, when I break down the have-to market framework, you'll see why Portland isn't following the same path as the Sun Belt, so stay with me. Out of the 50 biggest metros in the country, only about 4 still count as sellers markets, and 4 of them are in the Northeast. Newark has the strongest sellers market in America, with about 31% fewer sellers than buyers. Portland's sitting in a strange middle ground. It's not a strong sellers market, but it's nowhere near Austin either. Portland's median sale peaked in the high 500s around July 2025, and then pulled up into the mid 600s by late 2025. That correction didn't hit every part of Portland the same way. The gap shows up in places most buyers and sellers aren't even looking. And if you're trying to figure out which side of the gap you're sitting on, I'm a Maine native, and I work with buyers and sellers across Portland and the surrounding towns every single day. So if you want a straight read on your neighborhood or price point, my info's in the description down below. Okay, so let's keep going. Once you understand what's happening across the US, it's time to move back to Portland. The national gap is real, but it isn't hitting every part of the city the same way. That's one corner of the market where the slowdown slammed way harder than anywhere else. And once you see those numbers, the national headlines start making sense on the ground here. The condo market is in ground zero in Portland right now. A condo that traded around $700,000 3 years ago is now landing closer to the mid 600,000s. Condo sales volume fell around 20% year over year in 2025, and days on market stretched from roughly 1 week in 2024 to almost 3 weeks last year. A 2025 report found out about 24% of Portland condo listings never sold, either expiring, getting withdrawn, or being canceled. Some sellers don't even have enough equity left to cover commissions and closing costs. And when we get to the move buyers and sellers need to make in this market, you might want to write that part down, so stick around. The multifamily market has gotten brutal. Inventory for unsold 2 to 4 unit buildings jumped around 91% compared to 2023. Portland's median price for a 2-unit property hit $729,000 in 2024, pushing a lot of smaller landlords and investors out of the game completely. Investors who used to call Portland the gold standard are now shifting their attention towards Lewiston, Auburn, Biddeford, and Saco. The quick 2-year flip with an easy 50 grand profit is over. If you're buying right now, you need to think of this as a 5-year hold minimum. And inside that condo market, the slowdown isn't even spread evenly. There's one price range where deals barely move at all, and another where buyers are still coming fast. The condo is getting stuck in one specific price range. Walk through the Old Port, and you'll see lower priced condos still moving. Luxury condos still moving in sections, but the middle tier is where listings are frozen. Let me show you where the kill zone is and why buyers disappeared from it. The lower end of the condo market is still moving. Condos under $400,000 on the outskirts are still pulling in first-time buyers and investors. Properties priced at the $2 million level have a different buyer pool, cash buyers who aren't sensitive to interest rates. Maine's luxury market had a record in 2024 with more than 1,100 properties selling above $1 million statewide. The dead zone is the 2-bedroom condo segment between the mid-600s to the mid-800s. It's too expensive for first-time home buyers, too costly for retirees once they run through the HOA numbers, and it doesn't stand out enough for the luxury crowd to make sense. The framework behind why these buyers disappeared while the suburbs stay hot is coming in a little bit. It ties everything together, so stay tuned. The professionals who could afford these condos are choosing the suburbs instead. More space, lower cost per square foot, better setups for commuting or working from home. Redfin's national numbers now show condos have around 83% more sellers than buyers compared to roughly 28% in the single-family market. New construction costs in Portland now run $270 to more than $400 per square foot before you even factor in land, permits, or architecture. A 2,000 square foot mid-range build now lands somewhere between the high 600s to around $700,000, and that's often above what resale comps can support. Portland's planning board also approved a 30-story mixed-use tower that would become the tallest building in Maine, adding even more condo inventory in the years ahead. If the middle of Portland's condo market is frozen, you probably assume Greater Portland is struggling too, but cross the bridge into the suburbs and it feels like a different world. If downtown condos are the soft spot in Portland, the suburbs are the side that nobody else is talking about, and they're doing the exact opposite. Some of them still get multiple offers, 2-week closings, and sellers getting strong numbers. The suburbs are soaking up the demand, leaving Portland. Buyers are just moving 15 to 30 minutes further out. Scarborough is the hottest suburban pocket in Greater Portland at the moment. Zillow tracks its average home value at around the high 600s, while Realtor.com shows recent median sold prices closer to the mid 700s, with year-over-year gains above 20%. Homes in Scarborough are going pending in around 14 days, sometimes even faster. Falmouth has stayed strong at the high end as well, with median prices pushing at almost $1.1 million because inventory stays tight and the schools pull steady demand. Westbrook days on market stretch from around 7 days to roughly 26 days, but inventory is still tighter there than in Portland's condo segment. Inside Portland itself, the peninsula neighborhoods are still competitive. Munjoy Hill, the East End, the Old Port, and the West End are still seeing multiple offers on the right properties. Stroudwater is one of the hottest pockets inside the city limits that a lot of people still overlook. It sits close to the Jetport and I-295, which makes it a strong commuter location. 2 markets, 1 metro area, but totally different dynamics. And the reason the gap feels so big has way more to do with how people are choosing to live than the rate and inventory headlines everyone keeps talking about. Now, we have a downtown condo market that's barely moving, and the suburbs where inventory disappears almost the second it hits the market. That's where the real explanation starts to come into focus. This isn't being driven by rates, and it isn't coming down from headlines either. It's something I've been telling clients about for months. Portland is no longer a want-to market. It's become a have-to market. And once you understand the difference between those two, all the weird behavior in the market starts making sense. In a normal market, most transactions come from people who want to move. They're upsizing, downsizing, cashing out, or upgrading. The whole voluntary buyer and seller pool has generally stepped away from Portland. Sellers who don't need to move are watching the slowdown and waiting. Buyers who don't need to move are looking at rates and prices and doing the same thing. December 2025, fire activity hit the second lowest level Redfin has ever tracked outside the early pandemic shock. Maine's statewide annual median price reached a record $405,000 in 2025, but December 2025 came in closer to $385,000, around a 4% drop from December 2024. Mortgage rates are still hanging in the mid-6s, so buying a $600,000 home today means a way bigger monthly payment than what buyers locked in 2022. The retirement math that works in other markets just doesn't work the same here. The new construction homes cost more than what people are selling their current homes for. People still making moves are the ones who don't have a choice. Job relocations, divorce, death, retiring out of state, investors cashing out, or buyers coming in with cash or large down payments. Maine Medical Center helps drive a huge part of the relocation demand with 24,000 employees, alongside companies like WEX, Unum Group, plus the broader healthcare and financial sectors. The Portland Metro is only around 550,000, with the city itself around 70,000 people. So when buyer behavior changes, even a small shift moves this market fast. Knowing how to play it on your side of the deal is something different. So let me walk you through how I'd approach this market. At this point, you understand where the gap is showing up, why it exists, and how the segments are behaving. The next step is understanding what this means for you, because buyers and sellers are dealing with 2 different sets of rules in this market. And using the wrong strategy can cost you real money. Closing cost credits, rate buydowns, appliance packages, all of it's back on the table. Buyers finally have leverage again, alongside negotiating room and decision-making time that didn't exist 18 months ago. Condo buyers need to pay close attention to HOA fees, upcoming assessments, and overall building condition. A discounted unit can turn into an expensive surprise if major special assessment is around the corner. Buyers targeting the suburbs are dealing with a different environment. The leverage showing up in the city market doesn't really exist there. That means being pre-approved, decisive, and ready to submit a clean offer immediately when the right property appears. Sellers need to stop pricing around what they hope to net from the deal. The market is no longer rewarding 2022 pricing expectations. Portland completed a citywide reassessment in 2025, lowering the mill rate to roughly $11.98 per thousand compared to the previous rate of nearly $22.48. Suburban mill rates remain lower overall, with Falmouth at around $13.38 per thousand and South Portland closer to $13.20. For condo sellers inside the city, the path to building meaningful equity from here is likely going to depend on how long you're holding it and allowing appreciation to do the work over time. And that becomes the playbook depending on which side of the market you're in. This is not one single Portland market. The downtown condo segment is struggling. The suburbs are still competitive, and the peninsula pockets are operating almost like a separate world. Which version of the market you're standing in changes your strategy around your move. Now, if you're trying to buy a condo while the discount window is still open, or you're a seller who needs to get the pricing right before the market moves underneath you, email me. I'd love to connect. And if your search is pulling you away from the city towards the suburbs, this video I linked ranks 7 Portland suburbs from worst to best. And the gap between the top 2 changes everything for a lot of families. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.